7 o'clock. Let's go ahead and start the work session. The first item on the agenda this evening, I want to send our well wishes to Mr. Frederick Smalls, the councilman from Ward 2, who's looking in tonight, and will call in case he has any kind of questions about what's going on. Fred, get well soon. We look forward to seeing you back with us soon. First item is a consideration recommendation of fleet acquisition. That's 2 pickup trucks and 1 4-wheel drive pickup truck. Mr. Free.
Yes, good evening. Yeah, the Department of Public Works is recommending the purchase of 2 standard pickup trucks for the Department of Community Planning and Business Services. These vehicles will replace 2 that are in the replacement program to be retired. The third one is for the Department of Public Works to retire a 4x4 pickup truck with a plow. We're asking to increase the fleet by 1. The police department was requesting the possibility of using this 4x4 with a plow to have at their station during inclement weather, plus the ability to move the DUI trailers and the speed trailers around instead of having to borrow a truck. We went out and the state of Maryland had contracts with Hertrich Fleet Services for the 2 regular Dodge pickup trucks, and Frederick Chrysler over in Easton had one for the 4x4 Dodge. Funding for these purchases is in the capital improvement program under the fleet acquisition replacement. The Dodge Ram 2-wheel drives are $18,704 each, and the 4x4 runs $35,351. So it's recommended that the purchase of all 3 of these would be at $72,759.
Questions from the council? Mr. Nicholas?
Yes, thank you. So the surplus, they will go, you said, is in accordance with the policy, so where will they go?
The last set we've gotten rid of, we've traded them in on other vehicles that were due for replacement in the upcoming year.
Mr. Liz?
So, who's going to run this thing down at the police department?
We've had a few of the officers that, throughout the years, we've had them operate 4x4s with plows during these really bad weather. So I'm not going to say that all of them can run them, but I know there's at least 4 or 5 officers I know can operate them.
So, the police department will now be responsible for clearing their parking lot?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say that they were trying to have it so that during the Sally Port, the back area, I don't think they're going to do the whole parking lot. I think they were just trying to keep, if they had a prisoner they were bringing in, instead of calling us to have us run through there real quick, I think they would be able to do it themselves.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Ms. Query?
Along that same line, I know that Public Works participated in a rodeo for your truck drivers this past year. Was that run by risk management, or was that all departments?
I think risk management did put one of those together.
So perhaps some of the officers could participate in that too?
Yeah, I could make that suggestion to Pat the next time they do want to include those.
Thank you.
Is there any reason we didn't go to the state acquisition fund again? Not acquisition, the state contract?
This is under, all these are under state contract.
They're all on a state contract. Okay,
Yes.
Thank you very much. I have nothing else. Does anybody else from the council have anything? Thank you, Mr. Free. Appreciate it. All right, item number 2 is a discussion on changing the terms of the city council from 2 years to 4 years. I ask that this be placed on for discussion. There's a number of people on the council, including myself, that would like to revisit this issue. As you know, we did it back in 2009. This is 2016, and I'd like to see what the rest of the council feels about it. So with that, I'll start with Ms. Query.
would be in favor of such a change to the charter. What I would want, though, is participation from the community in that, the advertising, and I truly would like discussion from the community so that they would have the opportunity to come in, ask questions why we would support or not support something like this. Would like them to be involved in something like this. I understand that, our concerns, the biggest one would be constantly running for office versus, completing some of the major projects.
As we've seen the last couple of years, several jurisdictions have gone to 4 years. Things have changed since the last decade. We've gone to voting by wards. You've got at-large and the mayor that are running citywide. You've got 2 polling places, multiple polling places. I think it's time to take a hard look at this again. But I've been very adamant about this. It shouldn't be a political issue. It should be what makes good business sense for the citizens and for the running of the government.
Ms. Nicholas?
Thank you. I am glad this issue's been brought up, and I would like to see community involvement in making the decision.
Thank you. From my personal perspective, I think it does make good business sense. I think that it's come time that we are in office for a year and a half, and then we have to start running again. I'm thinking about the cost to the city. I'm thinking about the cost to us. I think about the productivity of what we're able to do without that pressure after a year and a half, and the things that we can do with a 4-year term. I do agree that we got to have public input. I don't want to do it without public input. And so I would like some idea, and I'm going to ask our council to give us some idea of exactly what the process would be for us to do this. Excuse me a second. Ms. Query has something else.
Thank you. This issue is a charter amendment issue because in your charter is where it establishes your terms. So you would have to do a charter amendment resolution. Charter amendment resolution can be, is subject to referendum by the voters. Another way to do it if you wanted public input would be to do an advisory opinion, advisory question at an election, asking the voters whether or not they would support that action.
Okay, thank you. Any question of council? I talked to Mr. Smalls earlier, and he's in favor of moving forward on this as well. So do I have to, or do we have to do anything here tonight, or how do we start?
If the council wanted to move forward with the change, then you would direct that a charter amendment resolution be drafted that would be prepared for introduction. If you prefer to have it be an advisory question at your next election, then you could do it by motion, or you could do a resolution that clearly states what the question is, and then it would be put on the next ballot.
Well, from what I'm hearing, I think, Mr. Les?
It doesn't have to be on the ballot, is that correct? That's what I hear you saying. Okay, thank you.
Well, if it doesn't have to be on the ballot, which direction does the council want to take? Mr. Les?
Mr. President, when it's come up before, it's become a political issue. And again, you get people that are running for office say, oh, geez, I'm against that. Now, those people don't get elected. They haven't gotten elected in the past. That's all I'm saying, is you need to take it out of being a political issue so that we can concentrate on what makes good business sense for the citizens and the orderly running of this government. And that's what's happened in other jurisdictions where they've gone from 2 to 4 years. That's my thought.
What direction does the council want us to take?
I just told you my direction.
Ms. Query?
I agree with Mr. Lazen. I think that doing it in advance or a future effective date, so it doesn't affect this council, is important too.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we should draft a resolution to put it on for referendum. Is that what I'm hearing?
It's not what I said, Mr. President. I think if
repeat
you.
what you said
if
again,
you-
please.
If you put it on for referendum, it becomes a political issue. Now, if you want to make a political issue, that's how you handle it.
If you would speak into the mic, it would be easier, Mike, to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I can
Okay.
hear you now.
Okay, if you're gonna, if you go ahead and make it a charter amendment, you have hearings, you have the public come and voice their opinion, you give the reasons why you're doing it, and that's it.
Okay, fine. Now I hear you. Thank you. If you would do so, madam, I would appreciate it and present it to the council at their next meetings or as soon as you can get that done. Any other questions from the council? Thank you. We'll move on to item number 3. Number 3 is a discussion on amending the code regarding grocery carts. I've asked that this be put on for discussion tonight because of my concerns about the number of grocery carts that are being left in and around the city, and that I think that the onus is on the city based on this resolution, section of the code, section 9-20, and that the fee of $25 is got to be or should be amended. I've noticed today 3 of them on the street. I think that people are taking them away from the stores. I think the onus has got to be on the stores to take these carts and to make sure that they're stored properly and that they're not left all over the city. So that's my point. I'd like to have some discussion on that particular item. Mr. Les.
Let me just ask the city administrator, what's the process, Marty, if we see a cart? Call your office and let you know?
The process for the council to report it would be to call my office.
Okay, and then what's the process once you get the call?
It's referred to our permits office and they send an inspector out. If they find the cart there, they notify the business to remove it. They're given one warning. If they fail to remove it within a 24-hour period, they get a citation.
Okay, so we're not picking up the carts and then telling the place
Well,
of business.
We pick up the carts when they fail to remove them,
Okay, how long do we give them to remove the
24
cart?
hours.
Okay, thanks, I appreciate that.
Ms. Nicholas? Ms. Nicholas?
So once the cart is picked up, is it taken, oh, I'm sorry. So once the cart is picked up, is it taken back to the store? Or is there a place that we're putting them, or?
Sometimes they go back to the store. It depends on whether or not we have adequate space to store it. A lot of times they come down to our yard. If they don't pick them up within 30 days, they go to metal recycling.
And what has been the pattern thus far?
Pattern as far as
In
what?
terms of, are they usually recycled because you collect so many, or?
Most of what we pick up are recycled. They don't come and get them.
They don't come get 'em? Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Query?
Is it permitting that's picking them up now? I mean, I noticed you said that if the council was to report it, what's normal course would be permitting is seeing these and picking them up, or Public Works, or?
It's permitting and public works. It depends on availability of a crew and availability of a truck.
So it's tying them up?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Mr. President, let me just add.
go ahead, Mr.
So if we pick it up, we're still fining the business owner, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so they lose the cart maybe, and they've got to pay the fine.
If we pick it up, I'm here to tell you that 99 and 9/10% of them go to the recycling yard.
Okay, but we're gonna collect the 100, whatever the fine is.
They get fined and
All right,
they usually don't have a problem paying it.
yeah. I mean, look, I was watching, they've got the ones with the collapsing wheels at, what, is it Giant? I think Giant's got collapsing wheels.
Giant's one of our biggest perpetrators.
Yeah, well, what I watched was, I watched two guys pick the cart up and carry it over, they know where the line is. And then they
No,
trot
they
it down the
found out,
street.
Mike, that if you back over the yellow line, it doesn't go off.
Well, I mean, I know they're doing their best, because the carts are expensive. They gotta cost more than $125, for sure. This is kinda, I don't understand the business owner not wanting to get their carts. But again, that's just my opinion. I mean, they're in business and they're big businesses, but they're all over the city. Thank you, man.
Mr. Fleming, I know that you have done extensive work in this particular area, and it's one of the reasons why that I've really kind of taken this on myself. Have you found any cooperation with Giant Food in dealing with this issue?
Very little cooperation from Giant Food. Giant Food doesn't seem to have a problem passing the cost on to their customers. They readily pay. And the carts on the average cost about $450.
All right, council, what I would like to do is I'd like to be able to work with council to amend this section 9-20, so that we increase the fines and we take the onus off the city from picking these up and taking them to the dealer, and have the dealer come, or the store, if you will, come and pick them up from the city. And if they don't pick it up within a certain period of time, then we have the authority to scrap them or do whatever we do with them. Is there any reason why I shouldn't be thinking that way? Ms. Query?
But that's what we're doing now. We're simply increasing the fine. That's what we're gonna do with this piece of legislation, correct?
Right.
Okay. That's fine.
Do I have any opposition from the council in doing that? I will prepare legislation to council and will be submitting it to the council for consideration. Is there any other business to come before the council? Seeing none, we stand adjourned.